Hey there, spooky friends, and welcome to episode 200 of our story times.
Woo!
That's 200 episodes of homegrown horrors, 200 episodes of you folks sending us your stories, experiences, all that fun stuff. Why don't you tell everybody, if they're new here, what homegrown horrors are?
So homegrown horrors are the stories that have been sent to us by you, the listener. It can be your story, a friend, a family member, but something that you've been giving permission to share, and you give us permission to share. That is, a supernatural story, spiritual, coincidental, true crime, extraterrestrial, anything else that matches that genre that you said, I think Adam and Robin would enjoy this, and I am okay with them reading it on the show, and you've sent our way. Robin, for folks who like to reach out to us and give us a homegrown horror, where do they send that?
Storytime at scarish.com. That's our email. You can go to our website, scarish.com. There's a link. You can click on the little email link.
It says contact us.
Contact us, and it'll send us an email that way. We also have social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We've gotten stories all over.
Threads.
It's not Twitter anymore. It's called X.
I just can't even fucking deal with it.
So...
But yeah, this is a pretty special Storytime episode. We are recording it early, so the folks that are watching us record this live, because Storytimes are always recorded live at youtube.com/scarish and twitch.tv/scarish podcast. They're getting a double dose because we just recorded episode 199. But episode 200, it's a pretty big milestone. That means we've had 200 episodes.
We've had at least 400 stories.
We've had closer to over 1,000 because we started Storytimes with 6 stories each.
Damn.
We used to do 6, then we went down to 4 because it made more sense with pacing. And then when we got to 180, we started to get low on stories, and we'd have to wait a little while before we could come back. And that's sort of what happened recently as well. So we were able to get 199 and 200 knocked out so that we could take a little bit of a summer vacation. But we don't want to undermine or underplay or whatever the importance of 200 episodes that are literally in existence because of you, the listener, sending us your stories. We sincerely appreciate all this you shared with us. Sending these stories is not an easy thing to do. A lot of times these are very personal and people are afraid of getting mocked. And
we're not here to mock.
We're not. We're here to read your story and share it. And we appreciate you trusting us to do that. So it's been pretty special. I will say, talking to some of my friends and family members who don't really listen to the show, and I understand that. Just getting to tell them stories that I've heard through the show has been really exciting. And having people reach out to us that are friends or family members just to say, hey, I listened to this, or to send us their story to share has been pretty incredible. We've had family members reach out hey, I had something happen to me that we might have never known otherwise. And it's just been a really special thing to do. And I will say, of all the story times that we've had and all the homegrown horrors that we've read through, there are a few that still stick with us. I definitely have one that I went and hung out with a friend a couple years ago, and he listens to the show, and he was asking, which one do you think is, the scariest? And there was just one about, someone's family, and it was, family drama where their dad was, stepping out on their mom with some lady who was, some form of, evil magic practitioner, and cast a curse, and all this crazy shit happened, and it was horrifying. And then their grandmother passed away during all these things that were going on, and that one definitely stuck with me. And when I brought it up, he immediately knew which one I was talking about, because it was just yeah, that one was fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
So and then there's stuff that people reach out and send different stories about things that happen to you after a loved one passes away, and things that you see butterflies or moths or things that are super special or significant to the person who had passed away. And those ones resonate with me too, because I had similar experiences when I was a kid, when my grandfather passed away and things like that. So the fact that people were willing to share those with us when they're in some cases total strangers, or we're close enough with them where they hadn't even thought to share that with us prior, it's been super awesome. Are there any in particular that have left an impression on you, Robin?
Definitely the ones where they see different creatures that to them are that person coming back.
Yeah.
And just saying hey, things are good, you're fine, we're fine, I'm fine, that kind of thing.
The dream ones too, where people see loved ones in dreams to tell them everything's going to be okay. Those ones are really nice. I've had that happen to me a couple of times with people that pass suddenly. So it's always a cool time. So we have 5 stories for you for this particular episode. We're going to give you a bonus one. One of them was really short and one of them was really long. And then there's 2. Wait, are we doing... Okay, we're splitting one into 2 stories because it's so long. Yeah. So technically it's 4, but one of them is super long. And so it broke apart when it got emailed to us and it came in 2 pieces, because that's what happens with really heavy emails. That was a stupid joke, but I'm sticking with it. I'm not taking it out of the show.
Okay.
So you're going to go first, right?
I'm going to go first.
All right, take it over.
All right. This one is titled Doppelgangers in Los Angeles. It begins, "Hey y'all, I'm Y. Sup,
What
Y?
up?
And I love listening to your pod on hikes and on the drive to and from work. So this story takes place pre-pandemic when I was thriving in Los Angeles before being banished to the snowy mountains of Arizona, which is crazy for me because
I don't think snowy mountains when I think of Arizona.
yeah. But there are mountains, so
Yeah, for
it
sure.
makes sense. There's mountains in Vegas too. You just never think
There's
about it.
mountains everywhere, except for the places where there's not mountains.
I was 23 and had just moved into my first apartment with my friend of my tia. We'll call her A. A was very sweet and an overall good roommate. She worked as a waitress in Santa Monica and we lived in Los Feliz. That's about a 40-minute drive for those who are unfamiliar with the hellscape that is LA traffic.
LA traffic is
The
crazy.
worst. I was working as an interior designer at the time at a firm in West LA. My roommate worked nights mostly, and I worked a typical 9-to-5 schedule. So when I would get home, she wouldn't be there. One day, I walked in and A was standing in the kitchen. I stood at the island and started talking about my day and asked how she was. She was facing away from me towards the stove and didn't move or speak. I'm already scared. I thought she was cooking until I noticed that she hadn't moved at all. I thought she might be in a mood, so I went to the bathroom and walked back out to tell her some stupid fact that popped into my head. She wasn't there. I poked my head into her room and nothing. I texted her, asking her where she went. I got a text saying that she'd been at work for a few hours already. Weird, but I thought it was in my head. Cut to 2 weeks later, I'm lying in bed with my door open on a Sunday morning. I saw my roommate sitting on the sofa and meditating. I got up and tried to be quiet as to not disturb her, but the fact that she was home on a Sunday morning was weird, because she usually worked a brunch shift. Once I got out of the bathroom, she was nowhere to be seen. That was the last time I saw a double of my roommate. I moved out to my own studio a few months later and was doing a guided meditation, but halfway through, I felt like I wasn't alone. So I looked up and saw myself standing in the corner smiling with the most disgusting and inhuman mouth I have ever seen. I blinked and it was gone. I felt a bite in my shoulder and completely lost my meditation. What the fuck? Was that my mind wandering during meditation? I fucking hope so. Anyway, that's just one story of some weird shit I've seen in my life. Keep on creeping on. Why?
That is terrifying.
Horrifying.
Yeah, for
Absolutely
sure.
horrifying.
Doubles freak me the fuck out, without a doubt. But like the whole meditation and seeing like an evil version of yourself, so to speak. Excuse me. That is like terrifying to me. So it's like you almost want to never meditate again. Like you shut that shit down just in case like you're opening a doorway to see that thing. Like build bricks like in front of that door at that point, because that's horrifying.
At work, they're offering like a meditation class or like a meditation time slot, and I'm like, no thanks, because I don't want to know if there's something there in my mind or something that is like waiting for me to just take the time to meditate and come out and be like, oh, BT dubs, you're fucking crazy or
what
something.
if it's your superpower that you can unlock?
Unless it's like me opening more brain cells, I don't think so.
Is it worth peeking behind the curtain to
No.
find out? No, probably not. I like where I am right
I'm
now.
not into meditation. It's the idea scares me. I know a lot of people do. A lot of people like it.
Yeah.
A lot of people want that time out of their day to kind of just recenter themselves, and that is not for me because I feel like something scary would happen. I haven't watched Smile yet, that new movie. I haven't watched it yet.
That does look really creepy too.
But imagine seeing that. Imagine seeing some scary shit like that. I can't.
I know this is inappropriate. I'm going to go ahead and flag myself for it already. But hearing you say like people want to take time out of their day to center themselves reminds me of a video I saw on Instagram where some guy says that the secret to always having a clear mind for him is he masturbates 9 to 10 times a day.
What the frick?
So people keep asking him questions that are very complicated. And he's like, I'm going to go to the bathroom. When I come back, I'll give you your answer. It's clearly a comedy thing. But at the end of it, he's like all disheveled from all the questions he's been asked, where he's just been savaging himself for the whole fucking video. And someone's just like, does this really work? And he goes, if you're not in a state of post-nut clarity, you're in a state of pre-nut delusion.
Oh my God.
And that ran through my mind just now. So shout out to whoever made that video because it's fucking funny. But yeah, I agree with you. Anyways, meditation. Cool. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move into the second email of the show. And this one's subject is Red Arms Can Share on Podcast. And it's from Sunny. Starts out like this. Hello, Robin and Adam.
Hello.
Hello. I found this podcast on Spotify. Shout out Spotify. I've been listening for a while, but I started from the beginning, so I am on episode 66, which is why I am writing this email. Ralph was talking about red arms. I vaguely remember this, but this is similar to something we talked about last episode where you say you see things out of the corner of your eyes. I'm pretty sure Ralph said that he sees like arms every now and then that are red out of the corner of his eyes. So for context, I believe that's what they're referring to. They go on to say, I almost skipped the whole episode when those words left his mouth, but curiosity got the better of me. When I was younger, I used to see red arms all the time.
Shut up. I just got chills too. Dang it, these stories are good.
It is hard to explain out loud, but they were a pair of arms that would appear in the most random places. I would be walking the halls at school and see them come out from around corners. I would see them at the end of my bed.
No.
Also just in places that are in the corner of your eye. I never got an evil feeling from them, but they would make me uneasy. I also could never tell if they were red arms or arms covered by red gloves. I could also never tell what they were doing. Were they waving at me? Calling to me? I still have no idea. They were always hands just up to the forearms. Which, as an adult, it is hard to figure out how I saw the arms but no body connected to them. When I finally told my mom about them, she broke down and started crying.
Oh,
what the fuck?
My God.
She told me 2 stories from when I was a baby. The first one was that I had burned my hands really bad. My mom had opened the oven and I put both of my hands down on the oven door. The second was that I would wake up with nosebleeds as a kid. I guess when I woke up with my nosebleeds, they were so bad that my hands would be covered in blood.
Oh my God.
She believed it was her guilt that was following me. Wow, a manifestation of guilt.
Crazy.
That's crazy. I don't know if that is why my subconscious would see these red hands all the time or not, but after I told my mom about it, I stopped seeing them.
Oh, wow.
Although I can never get rid of the feeling I had when I saw them. Like I said, it didn't feel like evil, but it was always so uncomfortable. Thank you for allowing me to share this experience with y'all. Keep on creeping on. P.S. This podcast is such a beacon of light in a sea of darkness.
Oh, thank you so much.
We appreciate that. That's very sweet. And also horrifying.
That's pretty crazy that you know, your mom remembers these things happening to you, and by you describing that, she's like, this is what I remember, and this is probably why. And the fact that you guys had that conversation and you stopped seeing them is pretty interesting.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm happy you did have that conversation too, because maybe that was what you needed to hear to stop seeing those things. Maybe it was something where like you had heard her talking about her guilt when you were a kid and you couldn't quite comprehend what she was saying, but you remembered it subconsciously, so it was like manifesting in some sort of like weird thing you were seeing. Very hard to tell. Very odd that Ralph had that same experience or similar experience. So either way, thank you so much for sending in that email.
Yeah.
So here's what I suggest. Let's read the short one.
Okay.
And then have the second half of the podcast be completely dedicated to the really long one.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to let you take this one.
All right. So this next one is from Spooky Ant, and it begins. This is my coworker's story about the time she went to Salem, Massachusetts. It's short, but I told her it would be good for the podcast. Nice.
For those of you who don't know, Salem, Massachusetts is a place in the United States of America where some crazy shit happened way back in the day.
They burned a lot of people, murdered a lot of people.
And called them witches, basically.
She arrived around 8 a.m., but her hotel check-in time wasn't until 3 or 4 p.m. She was exhausted, so she found a field with a skate park nearby to pull into and take a nap. After a while, she heard someone tapping on her driver's side window.
Oh, fuck.
So she opened one eye at first, but didn't see anyone. I'm already scared. She then sat up and looked around, but no one was there. She closed her eyes to go back to sleep and then heard the tapping again. But still, she didn't see anyone when she opened her eyes. She found out later that day, when she took a guided tour, the area where she had parked was where they hanged people during the Salem witch trials. In fact, I have chills. In fact, the burial grounds were just down the hill from where she parked.
Holy shit.
I told her either the kids from the skate park were messing with her or the witches were trying to warn her to get out of there.
She put witches in quotations because they weren't
because
really
they
witches.
weren't witches, yeah. We love and miss you. Hopefully we can visit soon.
I believe this was sent right before they visited.
Yeah.
So,
because they were just here just a couple weeks ago.
So this is actually not right before they visited. It was months before they visited.
I would love to go to Salem.
One
of these, or just Massachusetts in general. I want to go to Boston. I want to check out all that stuff. But there's a lot of history. A lot of history down that road.
A lot of dark history for sure. So
yeah.
I would definitely like to check it out and see what that's all about. So maybe one day. This is a good story. This makes me feel like we should go.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Spooky Ant, for sending that. You're the best. We love you. So before we move into our next story, we are going to take a really quick commercial break.
And we're back.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and move into the final story of the show. This one is long, so we're going to split it in half. So you're going to start with me, then you're going to get Robin to wrap us up. So this email's subject is some scary shit.
Hell
and
yeah.
It's pretty long, so it sounds like there's going to be a lot of scary shit. If it sounded like a cat just meowed, that was all in your head. It definitely wasn't our cat in our office being chased by our corgi, who is now also in our office. It's in your head. All right, this one starts out, hi there, Adam and Robin.
Hello.
Hello. My name is Charles, and I'm from an absolute unit of a shithole town near Chicago. I grew up in one of those. I discovered your show on Spotify. Whoop, whoop. Shout out to Spotify. About 2 months ago.
Nice.
I work 4:30 p.m. to 4 a.m., and your podcast is the only thing I listen to while I'm there or driving. Thank you so much. Currently on episode 33, I'm so stupid far behind.
I'm sure you're all caught up now.
Yeah.
It is now July.
This one's from March. I love all the stories, information, and for sure all the sarcastic and dirty humor. I'm good. I'm glad you like that because it pretty much stays the same for the rest of the show. I actually planned on my first email to just say I saw a ghost, leave it at that, and then apologize for how long my story was, and that English is my first language, public schools in Illinois are shit. And of course, I would have spelled everything completely atrocious. I figured you guys might think I'm being a troll and ignore any future emails, so even though I thought it would have been hilarious, I scrapped that plan. I probably would have gotten a kick out of it. Every now and then people will troll us and we just send it to spam. Every now and then people will do something that's just funny enough where it just sneaks by. I don't encourage anyone to test those limits, though. You'll probably wind up in spam. Side note, Adam, I completely agree with you. Whack Braggins is a giant twat. How do you say
Twatopotamus.
Twatopotamus. I like that. Apologies if I offended any actual hippos listening. I don't promote violence really ever, but I mean, fuck that guy. I wouldn't feel too badly if I saw a news story that someone kicked the fucker in the teeth. Holy shit.
Oh my god.
That's rough. I do watch a bit of the show now and again to laugh about his slow but continuous transformation from way too old frat douche cake to fake 90s goth. I'm convinced he's a few seasons away from sewing a black bird, real or stuffed, perched up on the shoulder of a shirt, panting himself up like the Crow, and learning how to clumsily play bits of Metallica songs on an unnecessarily expensive guitar. But we start... God damn it, Diaz. Get your shit together. Before we start, here's a few things to note. This is an honest-to-deity actual experience I've had. I've been pretty hesitant to share it because it does sound so incredulous. But as modern dipshits say, quote, shit be on it, on my mama, or whatever.
Stop.
That's funny. What I've heard is 100 on God fam, no cap.
No cap.
No cap.
I don't even know what any of the words that kids say anymore mean.
I try and have at least one young person in my life to give me information on what young slang is so I can at least recognize it.
I have to tell Adam why, certain videos are popular because it's a trend or something.
Yeah.
Certain songs or something like that.
I'm very just curious from an English perspective of what things are being said now and what they mean. It's not me so much as appreciating the slang, but I mean, I'm 38, which means that I was in the generation that had some pretty seriously stupid slang that didn't stick around for very much at all. So
when people used to do the crotch,
that's
it.
Made a comeback because I'm pretty sure that group that started that, which is Degeneration X from WWF, back when it was called WWF, made a resurgence. But I don't know. I'll have to ask my friend Stefan because he
knows everything.
He knows everything. He is Google. So when you Google, it goes to Stefan's brain. Stefan thinks an answer and sends it to you, and that's where you get all your results. So, all right, we're going to keep going here. My family and I are native. In parentheses, that's not really important. I'm just super proud of my heritage.
Aww.
Fuck yeah, be native. I'm proud of you. And my childhood was filled with supernatural occurrences, mostly due to my grossly abusive stepfather that thought he was blessed by Satan and had been given a personal demon slave and powers because he did fucked up rituals and whatnot.
What the heck?
That sounds awful. Imagine the movie Flowers in the Attic, but with less poison, more animal sacrifices, and an excessive amount of violence and abuse towards my siblings and I.
That's horrifying.
It is, and I'm sorry.
That's a horror story in and of itself.
Also, later in life, a lady that said she was sensitive to the other side and I have a strong connection through the quote-unquote veil because I am a twin, but my twin passed away in the womb as I was being born. She said that bond I had with my unborn sisters, the reason I feel so disconnected from other people and have an affinity for the supernatural, and have struggled with anger and depression for all my life.
Oh, wow.
So that's the backstory. It says, and now to the story. When I was a teen and living at home, I had an especially terrifying experience in my, sorry Robin, basement bedroom. Not just basement, his bedroom's in the basement.
I can't. Why?
It was an amazing summer night, and I had spent the evening... Oh, my bad. And I had spent the evening till the early hours of morning walking around different neighborhoods with my best friend. We would walk around and tell a story to each other, sentence by sentence. One of us would start, the other would follow slowly, building on the other one's previous sentence.
Sounds like a fun writing exercise.
It really does. Each story would be different, but fantastical. It was one of my absolute favorite creative things to do. And one of the reasons people wouldn't believe me about this after it happened, until it happened again. And I wasn't alone for it. They said it was just my overactive imagination. Anyways, we finally got back to my home where the rest of our buddies had passed out, and after such a good night, I was finally ready to climb into bed. I was at the point in between sleep and consciousness when I had a strong and sudden feeling that someone was in my room and watching me. I opened my eyes and tried focusing on the shadows around my basement. I immediately was aware that I couldn't move anything but my eyes. Due to the experiences I had when I was young and the experiences I had chasing different haunted and cursed locations around the area, I've always been aware that crazy supernatural things do happen, so I mentally prepared myself for whatever was coming. I was nowhere close to being ready for it. And we're going to stop there. We're going to transition to Robin, and you're going to find out what happened.
All right. I could see a red kind of fog slowly drifting down the stairs. It was like nothing I've ever seen before and seemed to have an otherworldly kind of light to it. As even in the very darkest parts of my room, I could clearly see it shining, twisting and whirling around. As it started wrapping around the frame of my bed, the air grew significantly colder and had a very distinct smell to it. Reminded me of really old laundry that never made it to the dryer and had molded.
Ooh,
that's the worst.
I know exactly the smell you're describing.
Because it happens all the time.
Yep.
A portion of the fog slowly drifted towards the ceiling and became a sort of frame. It resembled a long oval-esque mirror. I could see myself reflected in the image and can honestly say I've never been more terrified. That is, until she stepped out of the reflection.
Oh, fuck.
It was Lilith.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking, too. Too much Diablo 4.
Until the day I die, I'll never forget every detail of her. From the crazy wild hair that looked like masses of brittle twigs from a dead tree, the blacker than black hollow spaces where eyes should have been, to the texture of her skin that seemed like stretched, charred bark. Never. I felt like I might actually die of fright. She crept close to my bed and knelt right next to me, her face next to mine. She cradled my face in between her gnarled and twisted digits. It felt like sandpaper rubbing against my skin. Then she started whispering in my ear, and her breath was cold and stagnant, burned against my face. I couldn't understand the language or languages she was using, but at one point she did say in English that she had always been here from the beginning. From everyone's...
this really sounds like Lilith,
It sounds
right?
like Lilith. From everyone's beginning, and that she's been watching me, and that she always will, no matter how far I try to run.
This was also sent a while ago, so way before Diablo 4 came out, in case anyone's like, this guy probably played Diablo 4 and then decided to write a story. No, this came to us way before that.
After she was finished speaking, she stood, walked to the foot of my bed, and grabbed me by the ankle and dragged me off onto the floor. I still couldn't move. She moved back to the mirror and stepped through, and the fog vanished. The temperature returned to normal, and the scream that was stuck in my throat finally came out. My friends that were upstairs came rushing down, and it was all I could do to just cling to them and cry. One of them ran to the medicine cabinet to get an ice wrap and ointment for my ankle. Her handprint was seemingly burned into my skin and was there for weeks.
Fuck.
Sometime later, the girl I was seeing came over, and we took a nap together. After we both had drifted off again...
Nap together. Wink wonk. I got you, dog.
After we both had drifted off again, the same feeling and terror washed over me. She and I had fallen asleep facing one another, and as I looked towards Steph, oh, that's a name, I could see the fear in her eyes as I realized she was also fully awake and experiencing what was happening. There were no speeches, just the fog. What stepped out, and then after what seemed like an eternity, it all disappeared and we both screamed. That relationship obviously didn't last, though we remained friends up until a few years ago. She married some guy that makes her happy and isn't surrounded by otherworldly happenings.
Bummer.
I know, right? What a dick bag.
How dare you?
I can see if I can find her and have her send an email detailing what she remembers.
That'd be cool.
Oh, yeah, that'd be cool. I've done my best to try and not think about these things since it happened. It's been around 25 years since that first night. I'm 41 now. And it wasn't until I heard one of your episodes that had some sleep paralysis stuff in it did it all come crashing back in from the recesses of my mind. So, thanks a fucking lot for helping that little gem resurface.
Sorry about that.
Honestly, though, I haven't ever tried to figure out what all that was about for fear it might come back. I'm not one to scare very easily, and I'd rather football punt a chipmunk into a wood chipper, what the fuck, than go through all that again. Okay, disclaimer, I would never do that as I absolutely adore animals.
I'm happy for that disclaimer.
Also, it is kind of reassuring knowing others have had similar things happen, and I'm not just a lunatic. I will say I've never ever heard of anyone else having shared an experience like the one Steph and I had gone through. Maybe a first ever. I am, of course, that special, obviously, so very possible.
That's funny.
Seriously, though, if anyone else has had a shared sleep paralysis experience, I think it would be kind of cool to hear about, be it on the podcast or in the Facebook group. But that's the end of the story. I hope you've been thoroughly entertained and freaked out at the same time. I have more stories to send your way and for sure will. Feel free to share them when you're able. Also, I would apologize for the length of my story, but I'm not gonna. It's pretty fucking interesting. And I'll never apologize for entertaining the masses.
Wow.
I sincerely hope 2023 has big things in store for you both and look forward to hopefully hearing my story being shared.
Nice. You kind of trailed off at the end there, but it's cool.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your story.
That's horrifying.
I would rather see Lilith than this person that came through this mirror.
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. They sound very similar. Like, when I say Lilith, we are obviously joking around about it. Sounds like the character from Diablo 4, Lilith,
yes,
who has a different origin story. Lilith obviously has an origin story within, like, you know, I think Judaism and Christianity, if I'm not mistaken, because it's from, like, the origins of, like, human beings in general, Genesis, all that fun stuff. I think it's part of that book. But either way, like, it's a horrifying story, man. Like, it's sad that we made him remember this, and I feel bad about that. But at the same time, like, you know, now you're aware, so you can be careful, I guess is the best way to put it, and to steel your mind in case something like this were to happen again. And who knows, maybe other people, I've never ever thought to look up shared sleep paralysis experiences. So I've just assumed that they don't happen.
Yeah.
But the fact that we've heard about one now means that I'm very curious in finding out if there has been more. And if anyone else out there has a story like that, we would definitely like to hear it.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Charles, one more time for sending that in. It was horrifying. All right. I think that's just about everything we have for super special episode 200. Joining us at the end of the episode is our wonderful corgi, Anya, who, if you hear whining, heavy breathing, or licking of any various surface is coming from her. She is adorable. She just want to come by and say hi. Thank you to everyone who sent your emails. If you have any story you would like to share with us, please feel free to reach out to us by emailing storytime@scarish.com or going to the website scarish.com. Click on Contact Us, fill out the form. It does come directly to us. We still get lots of emails that way, and we appreciate it. If any of you would like to reach out via social media, Facebook is facebook.com/scarishpodcast. Twitter is @scarishpod. Instagram is @scarishpodcast. And Threads is @scarishpod, I think. Yeah, that's just about everything. Robin, for folks who would like to donate to us, how can they do so?
You can go to patreon.com/scarishpodcast. Those are monthly donations with tiers starting at $1. You can also go to coffee, ko-fi.com/scarishpodcast for those that are just into the one-time donations.
That's everything we got. Thank you so much, y'all, for 200 episodes of Storytime. It's been a blast, and we will keep this thing going as long as we have emails to read. So keep sending them. Ask your friends, ask your family members, especially your older family members, grandparents, great-grandparents. They're going to have some crazy stories for you that you could never anticipate. And have that conversation because it's a fun time. That's the best advice that I can give you from all the things that we have learned doing these. And it's everything we got for you for this episode. So, Robin, why don't you go ahead and sign us out?
Keep on creeping on, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.